The energy inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse was undeniable. Fans didn't just show up for a playoff game. They showed up carrying anger. The sting of Game 1 still lingered, with whistles that felt one-sided and calls that made it seem like the deck was stacked against Indiana. People called it robbery. The frustration wasn't just about losing, it was about disbelief, about pouring everything into 40 minutes only to feel like the balance tilted against them. By the time Game 2 arrived, the Fever weren't just playing basketball. They were playing for redemption. From the opening tip, there was no hesitation. Indiana seized control of the game and never let it go. They scored first, defended with urgency, and created a tone that made the officials irrelevant. There would be no storyline about controversy this time. No lead changes, no ties. For the first time since 2002, the Fever went wire to wire in a playoff win, and the message was clear. If Game 1 felt stolen, this one would be taken back with force. Defense set the stage. Atlanta thrives on perimeter shooting, but Indiana cut off their oxygen. In the first half, the Dream went just 1 for 10 from deep. Their rhythm was gone, their spacing collapsed, and every possession looked rushed. By night's end, they shot under 40% from the floor and hit only 5 of 19 from beyond the arc. It wasn't luck. It was suffocation, the kind of collective defensive effort that made Atlanta's star guards look ordinary. Indiana dictated the pace, and the refs had no say in it. The Fever didn't play as if 5 players were missing. They played as if those absences were fuel. Caitlin Clark was sidelined for the season. Sophie Cunningham wasn't available. Neither were Sydney Colson, Chloe Beebe, or Ari McDonald. That's half a rotation gone in the most important game of the year. But instead of being crushed by the weight, Indiana leaned on each other. Head coach Stephanie White had warned before the game that desperation had to be the ingredient they lacked in Game 1. Every 50-50 ball had to be fought for. Every rebound had to matter. And this time, they answered her call. Kelsey Mitchell became the heartbeat of the offense. Without Clark commanding defensive attention, Mitchell shouldered the responsibility and never blinked. She poured in 19 points, drilling 4 three-pointers, each one stretching the lead and igniting the crowd. Some came at moments when Atlanta looked ready to mount a run, but Mitchell's shot-making forced them back into chase mode. She has been the constant for this franchise through years of struggle, and on this night, she proved why her leadership mattered most. In her first home playoff game, she gave the crowd a star to rally around. Aliyah Boston added her own stamp on the game. Her presence in the paint was steady, immovable, and relentless. She scored 15 points, dished out 3 assists, and controlled the interior. But her impact was bigger than the stat sheet. Against Atlanta's physical frontcourt, she refused to be pushed around. When the Dream doubled her, she punished them by finding open teammates. When they tried to front her, she used footwork and strength to create angles. Boston wasn't just a scorer, she was a fulcrum, making Atlanta pay no matter what defensive coverage they chose. In her words after the game, she admitted the emotions were high, but her poise showed she is already the kind of leader this franchise can build around. Natasha Howard played the enforcer role, battling under the rim and adding 12 points of her own. She fought for extra possessions, slipped into open spots, and gave Indiana the toughness they needed. It wasn't glamorous, but it was exactly the kind of grit a shorthanded team depends on. And then came the surprise spark. Rookie Michaela Timpson, who had seen limited minutes all year, delivered 9 points in just 9 minutes of play. She attacked the rim with confidence, finished plays with energy, and gave Indiana an unexpected burst at a critical moment. Her contributions didn't just pad the box score, they changed momentum. But if there was one shot that defined the night, it belonged to Lexi Hull. As the third quarter wound down, she lined up a 3 and buried it at the buzzer. Gainbridge Fieldhouse erupted. The noise rattled the roof. It wasn't just a basket, it was a release, a moment fans had waited nearly a decade to feel again in the postseason. That single shot pushed Indiana's lead to 15, and the building felt alive in a way that reminded everyone why playoff basketball is different. The defense never let up. Possession after possession, Atlanta was pushed into rushed decisions. Indiana contested without fouling, collapsed on drives, and clogged passing lanes. Stephanie White praised her team afterward for their attention to detail and discipline. They didn't just win. They executed a defensive masterclass that silenced every excuse from Game 1. And through it all, Caitlin Clark was there. She couldn't take the floor, but she stood, clapped, and fed the energy of the crowd. Her presence tied the fans and the team together, reminding everyone that even when injuries strike, this roster refuses to fracture. When the buzzer finally sounded and the Fever claimed a 77-60 victory, the celebration wasn't just about evening the series. It was about reclaiming identity. Nearly 10 years had passed since Indiana last won a playoff game, and now, with backs against the wall, they had reminded the league who they are. What made it sweeter was how collective it felt. Mitchell's shot-making, Boston's command of the paint, Howard's toughness, Timpson's spark, Hull's buzzer beater, every name mattered. This wasn't one star dragging a team forward. It was a group deciding together that they would not let the season end. Now the series shifts back to Atlanta. Game 3 is everything. The Dream have home court, but they also have pressure. They're expected to win. Indiana, by contrast, has already erased doubt and proved they can triumph without their superstar. That shift matters. Confidence travels, and when a team forged in adversity tastes belief, they become dangerous in any arena. For Atlanta, adjustments are obvious. They'll look to push tempo, move the ball quicker, and avoid letting Indiana set their defense. They'll need perimeter players to hit shots they missed in Game 2. But the Fever know the formula now. Control pace, own the paint, and defend with discipline. They've already shown they can do it once. The question is whether they can carry that same resilience into a hostile environment. Stephanie White insists this group's confidence has never wavered, and watching them in Game 2, it's hard to argue. They've survived injuries, endured heartbreak, and now they've tasted redemption. Kelsey Mitchell said it best, somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. But when you carry belief the way Indiana does, sometimes belief is enough to tilt the scales. This win was more than a number in the series. It was a statement that Indiana basketball is back. Not perfect, not polished, but resilient, united and unshakable. For nearly a decade, fans waited for this night. And when it came, it felt like a beginning, not an end. Game 3 in Atlanta will decide who moves forward, but no matter what happens, the Fever have already reclaimed something they'd lost: their identity. So what do you think? Was this the night Indiana proved they can shock the league without Caitlin Clark? Can they carry that fire into Atlanta and close it out on the road? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you're fired up, type, "Let's go Fever." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Because the Fever aren't done yet. Not by a long shot.